Up here are just examples, and they've already done them, but I want to explain how they did them. So the first problem says to factor x squared plus 7x plus 10. When they tell you to do that, it really means to on-FOIL. So in the earlier assignments, we learned how to multiply two binomials by each other, and you would get a trinomial like this. So what we need to do is figure out, how did they FOIL this together? What did they FOIL together to get x squared plus 7x plus 10? So I always start by drawing my two sets of parentheses like I just did. And I say, well, let's see. FOIL, F-O-I-L, stands for first, outer, inner, last. And first means that they must have taken the first term of the first parentheses times the first term of the second parentheses and multiplied them together. And when they did that, they got x squared. So there's only one option here, really. Well, there's actually, you could do x squared times 1, or you could do x times x. And it's going to be the x times x one. Almost always you'll start by doing that. So I've got my first thing done, x times x. Now I also have to do outer plus inner, and then I'll have to do last times last. So I'm jumping ahead to the L because I know that my last times last is going to equal the last term of my trinomial, which is 10, a positive 10. Well, now we're going to start thinking about, how could I do that? How could I get 10 when I multiply two things together? In other words, what are the factors of 10? So the factors of 10 are 1 and 10, or 2 and 5, just like they have in the chart there. I could do trial and error, and I could do it once with 1 and 10, and I could see what I get, plus 1 and plus 10. And then I could FOIL this back and see if I indeed get a 7x for my middle term. Well, let's do that once. So first times first would be x squared. I'm checking. Outer would be x times 10, or 10x. The inner would be 1 times x, which would be 1x. And then my last times my last, I already wrote that that would be 1 times 10, or 10. So the x squared is good, the plus 10 is good, but my middle term would give me an 11x. I didn't want an 11x, I wanted a 7x. So that didn't work, what I just tried. So instead of doing trial and error every time, there's a little shortcut you can do, which is after you pick your factors, which we did here, 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Once you pick the factors, then add them together. 1 plus 10 is 11, just like I got 11x here. That doesn't work. 2 plus 5 is 7. That does work because I wanted a 7x. So now when you put your parentheses, I start with my x and x. I knew I was going to use x and x. Now I'll pick these factors, and they're both positive, so you write plus 2, and then you write plus 5 is my other one. So here it's written neater, x plus 2 times x plus 5. And you could also do x plus 5 times x plus 2. It works either way. Either one is correct. And then you check it with FOIL. Well, I just checked the wrong one, x plus 1 times x plus 10, so you saw how I did it. But you just take first times first, that's x squared. Outer would be x times 5, which is 5x. Inner would be 2 times x, which is 2x. And last times last would be 2 times 5 is 10. And then we add our two middle terms together because they're like terms, and we get x squared plus 7x plus 10. And that is the answer that we wanted. All right, let's look at example 2 over here. Example 2 is almost the exact same thing, except for this makes it a little trickier. We have a negative for our middle term. But I'm still going to start the same way. I'm going to put two sets of parentheses, and you can always do this. You know you're going to have two sets of parentheses. Let's see, my first times first is going to be x squared, so I can go ahead and put my x and my x in my beginning of my parentheses. And now I need to figure out how to get the plus 18. Well, to get a positive 18, I could do 1 times 18. I could do 2 times 9. Or I could do 3 times 6. Those are the factors of 18. But when I do my little shortcut of adding those together, I would get 19, 11, and 9. None of them would give me a negative 9 like I wanted. So that's why in this example, they didn't even put the positives down. They only put negatives. It's true that 1 times 18 is 18, but also negative 1 times negative 18 is also a positive because a negative times negative is positive. That gives me negative 19 though, and that doesn't work. And then they did negative 2 times negative 9. That would equal positive 18. If I add those together, I get negative 11. That's not right yet either. And then finally, if I did negative 3 times a negative 6, I would get a positive 18. And if I add negative 3 plus negative 6, I do indeed get the negative 9 that I wanted. So then, because they're both negative, I'll put a minus 3 in my parentheses and a minus 6 in my parentheses. And then the last step, of course, is to check it. So here's what I had, x minus 3 times x minus 6. We check it with FOIL. So first times first means that we're going to take x times, let me erase that quick, my underline here. We want to take x times x, that's our first times our first. And that would give us our x squared, which is what we wanted. So there's our x squared. And then we take the outer, which would be x times negative 6, which is negative 6x. And then the inner is negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x. And then last times last would be negative 3 times negative 6 is a plus 18, positive 18. So now we have to combine our two middle terms, which are the like terms. Negative 6x minus 3x is negative 9x. X squared minus 9x plus 18 is what we started with. Yep, there it is. So they are all done then. We solved that correctly. Now here's a couple examples from later on in the worksheet, number 13 and 14. X squared plus 10x plus 16. So here's how I would set this up on my worksheet if I was solving this problem. I would start by putting my two sets of parentheses. Okay. Next, I would decide what my first times first term has to equal. It's x squared, so it has to be x and x. Oops. X and x. And then I would figure out what are the factors of the last term, which is 16. What are the factors of 16 that would add together to get 10? That's my middle term. So the factors of 16 are 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and 4 times 4. We want to pick these pairs of factors that would add together to get our middle term of, that's supposed to be a 2 there, let me fix that, 2. Add together to get our middle term of 10. So 1 plus 16 is 17, that doesn't work. 2 plus 8 is 10. And 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 doesn't work. 10 is what I wanted. This is all pluses, so it's going to be all positive. So I can just put in x plus 2 in the first one, plus 8 for the second one. And then the very important thing that you have to do is check it. So when you check your answer, that's when you're going to really find out if FOIL works and if you did indeed pick the right ones. And the good thing about it is that you can check it, so you should never get them wrong. So first we'd have x squared, x times x. The outer would be 8x. The inner would be 2x. And then the last times last would be 16. And then when you add your middle terms together, you're going to get x squared. 8x plus 2x is 10x. And then if we have the plus 16. So it does check, it's going to work, and we got the right solution there. All right, one more example to look at. This one has a minus, but that's okay. We start with our two sets of parentheses. And first times first has to be x squared, so I'll do the x and the x. And now we're looking for the factors of 20 that would equal a negative 9. Keep in mind that that has to be a negative 9. So let's see. I can do 1 and 20. I'm going to skip that one because 1 and 20 doesn't work to get negative 9. I could do 2 times 10. Now I have to get negative 9. So I could do a positive 2 times a positive 10. Or I could do a negative 2 times a negative 10. Neither of those would give me negative 9 though. Okay, I could do 4 times 5. Or I could do negative 4 times negative 5. That's the one I want because that would give me my negative 9. Once you find the one you want, you just go back into your parentheses and you put what you got. Negative 4 and negative 5. And then your last step, of course, then is to check it, just like we did before. And you do first times first, x squared. Outer would be minus 5x. And the inner would be minus 4x, and I can see already that this is going to work. And then negative 4 times negative 5 would be a plus 20, because negative times negative is positive. So we're going to get our original problem back, x squared minus 9x, running out of room, plus 20. So it checks, so it works, so we got the right solution there. And that's how you're going to do the problems on this assignment. Thank you very much.